You ever have one of those days where you just want to grab a gallon of milk, get home, and call it a win? Yeah, that was me that night. Just milk for my kid, some flowers for my wife, nothing fancy. I'd been hauling concrete since sunrise, covered in dust, running on gas station coffee, and all I wanted was 5 minutes of peace in the 10 items or less lane. The store was quiet, that kind of late evening hum where the fluorescent lights buzz louder than the people. I'm standing there, 2 items on the belt, thinking about how Tammy's face lights up when I bring her those cheap carnations. That's when I heard it, that sound of doom. A shopping cart with a bum wheel, squeak, thump, squeak, thump. I didn't even have to look. I could feel it. Trouble was rolling my way. She cut right in front of me. Didn't say a word. Pink sweater, pearl earrings, that looked like she'd never worked a day in her life. Her cart was overflowing. Organic kale, imported cheese, the whole "I'm better than you" starter pack. I blinked, pointed at the big red sign overhead. "Ma'am, this lane's 10 items or less." She gave me that up and down look people give when they're deciding if you're worth acknowledging, then smiled. "I'm in a hurry." Like that was the magic phrase that rewrote store policy. I took a deep breath. My boss had just called an hour earlier, told me we landed a big weekend job, double time pay if I kept my nose clean. "No trouble, Jack," he said. "You mess up again, that bonus goes to someone else." So I smiled, swallowed my pride, and told myself she wasn't worth it. Then she knocked my milk. Not hard, just enough to make it teeter. I caught it mid-fall. She didn't flinch. "Oops," she said, without a trace of sorry. Then, she looked me dead in the eye and asked, "You gonna cry about it?" I felt my jaw lock. My knuckles went wide around the handle of that milk jug. I've worked through broken fingers before, but biting my tongue right then? That was the hardest labor I'd done all year. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get dumber, a young mom behind us tried to maneuver her stroller around the chaos. One of her wheels snagged on the cart. A jar of fancy pickles fell and exploded all over the floor. The baby woke up, wailing. The mom gasped, apologizing over and over. And before I could even blink, the woman in pink spun around and screamed, "Assault!" He pushed me. He scared the baby. The whole store went silent. I didn't even move. I swear, my feet were glued to that sticky tile floor. But in that moment, it didn't matter what I'd done. All anyone saw was a big, dirty construction worker and a trembling victim in designer sneakers. The manager came jogging over, looking like a deer on opening day. "What's going on here?" he asked. She pointed at me, shaking like she'd seen a ghost. "He attacked me. He shoved my cart. Look what he did." The poor kid behind the register froze. Everyone was staring. I raised both hands, palms out. "That's not what happened," I said, calm as I could. "The stroller hit her cart. It was an accident." The young mom nodded, voice shaky. "He's right. It was my fault." But Pink Sweater waved her off. "He probably scared her into saying that," she sneered. At that point, my pulse was hammering in my ears, but I remembered my boss's words, "No trouble." Then I saw him, store security, quiet guy with sharp eyes. He didn't even talk at first, just scanned the ceiling. Cameras. Thank God for cameras. They pulled the footage. 15 of the longest minutes of my life later, they came back. The manager looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. "Sir, you're free to go," he said, eyes down. "The video shows you didn't do anything wrong." The woman's jaw dropped. "That's impossible," she hissed. But it was over. Or so I thought. Before I left, I leaned toward the cashier. "Brenda," I said, reading her tag. "I think that kale doesn't have a price tag. You'll need a price check." The look she gave me was pure murder. I smiled politely. "Store policy, right?" I stood there, calm as a monk, watching Karen, sorry, Pink Sweater, fume through every beep, every expired coupon, every second that passed like molasses. I didn't need to yell. Watching her drown in her own impatience was justice enough. But karma wasn't done yet. As soon as she paid, she tried to bolt through the emergency exit. The alarm chirped like a guilty conscience, loud, sharp, humiliating. The magnetic lock held tight. She pushed again, harder. Nothing. Everyone turned to look. I didn't say a word. The universe did it for me. Security came running. "Ma'am, that's for emergencies only." She shouted about being a paying customer. He pointed at the main door. "So are they." She huffed, spun around, and that's when a teenager nearby lifted his phone to film her meltdown. She lunged for it. "Delete that," she yelled, grabbing his wrist. And just like that, She crossed the line from ridiculous to criminal. Police showed up minutes later. She tried the same act again. Tears, trembling voice, pointing at me, saying I'd attacked her earlier. But this time, they weren't buying it. The footage said it all. I thought that was the end of it. I paid for my milk and flowers, went home, told my wife everything. Tammy just held me, told me I did the right thing by staying calm. For a moment, it felt like the world made sense again. Until the next morning. Tammy came into the kitchen with her tablet, face pale. You need to see this. There it was, our neighborhood HOA page. A post from her, the woman from the store. She'd written this dramatic essay about being assaulted by an aggressive man at Supermart. She used my name, my photo, called me a danger to the community. My stomach dropped. People were commenting, neighbors, folks who waved at me every morning, calling me a bully, saying someone like me shouldn't live near families. I was ready to drive to her house right then, but Tammy stopped me. No, we're not feeding her story, she said. We'll fight with facts. She found my receipt, time-stamped 9:14 p.m. Then she posted a calm, factual response with proof. She tracked down the young mom from that night. Turns out her name was Emily, and Emily wrote a public comment backing me completely. But Tammy wasn't done. Our retired neighbor, Hank, had a dash cam on his truck. The footage showed the woman parking in a handicapped spot without a permit, marching into the store, and later walking out with cops behind her. Timestamp matched perfectly. Tammy uploaded it. By noon, the comment section flipped. People weren't just defending me. They were digging up their own horror stories about her. Turns out she was the neighborhood's queen of complaints. HOA fines, noise reports, threats to call code enforcement over a lawn chair left out too long. The internet turned on her fast. A few days later, the supermarket called. They were hosting a community transparency meeting. I didn't even know what that meant until I walked in. Half the town showed up. They played the store footage on a big screen, clear as day. Everyone saw her cut the line, knock my milk, scream, assault for nothing. They saw me steady the stroller, not touch a soul. They saw her set off the alarm and swat at that kid's phone. You could hear a pin drop when it ended. Then an older lady in the third row, someone's grandma, stood up and said, I was there. That man was a gentleman. She was the problem. The crowd clapped. Even I felt my eyes sting a little. Then the store's lawyer stepped up and announced her punishment. Lifetime ban from all Supermart locations. A written apology to everyone involved. And 20 hours of community service, stocking shelves in that same store, wearing a bright orange vest. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was perfect. Not revenge, just balance. A few weeks later, I ran into her again. Tammy, our son, and I were doing groceries, and there she was, orange vest, stacking cans of beans with a scowl like the world owed her something. People just walked by, ignoring her. And that, somehow, felt worse for her than any shouting match. I walked up quietly, turned one of her crooked cans so the label faced forward, and left without saying a word. It wasn't petty, it was closure. A small reminder that respect is a habit, not a status symbol. That night, as we sat around the dinner table, Tammy laughed and said, You know, Jack, you could have blown up your whole life that night over $8 of milk and flowers. She's right. But sometimes the real win isn't proving you're right. It's keeping your peace and letting the truth do the heavy lifting. So now I'll ask you, if someone pushed your buttons like that, would you have done the same? Or would you have let him have it right there in the checkout line? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I still wonder if staying calm was strength or just restraint waiting to snap.